This is Take a Cue, Season 2, Episode 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to Season 2 of Take a Cue. I'm Jen Wise, 4th and 5th grade instrumental music teacher.
And I'm Erik, 8th grade band and jazz band director.
We're two veteran educators with over 35 years of experience teaching music in New Jersey public schools between the two of us, and we're excited to bring teaching experiences and insights to you.
So excited. Whether you're just starting out in your teaching career or you've been teaching longer than we have, this show will help you grow with new ideas and perspectives about music education and teaching.
We hope you'll be just as inspired as we are every time you listen. Before we begin, if you enjoy our podcast, please help us out by doing a few super easy things.
First, subscribe on your favorite podcast app.
Then make sure you rate the podcast and leave a review.
It helps people find our show who haven't yet, and we really appreciate it.
If you find that you get a lot out of our episodes, we'd be grateful if you considered becoming a monthly supporter to help us grow the podcast.
You can sign up to make a secure monthly payment using the link in our show notes or on our Spotify for Podcasters site.
Also, if you have questions or comments about anything you hear on the episode, come and interact with us on social media. We're Take a Cue Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we
But
are.
before you come and interact with us, we should do an episode of Take a Cue.
Well, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
This is a weird transition. Jen, how's everything going?
Oh, it's so good. Happy New Year, Erik.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've said it to anybody.
Same here. Yeah, this is so wonderful. I know. I'm so excited for 2024.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great.
I think so too. 2023 was all right. We're cool.
Yeah.
But 2024 I think is going to be pretty good. So,
But before we look into the new year, let's do a quick catch up on the end of 2023.
okay, good plan.
How have things been going in December?
December is a little, just a little hectic. Hosted Christmas. So, there's a lot of planning that goes into that, and presents and kids and traveling family and
Oof.
coming to stay with us, and there's a lot that goes into hosting Christmas. First time hosting Christmas. Done Thanksgiving. I've done Easter. Haven't done New Year's yet, but okay. That's a thing. How about you?
Wow, good for you.
Yeah. December, crazy, fun. Do you have a lot of gigs coming up or Christmas gigs?
I wish. Only had one gig in December, and it was actually at my church, which was really nice. We did a sax quartet, and in the service for St. Nicholas, the Feast of St. Nicholas, and then we had a nice big reception afterwards where we played some nice jazzy Christmassy music. Yeah, but it's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I have to sub out my other gigs because they just don't particularly work with our schedule, because Maggie's got some great concerts and definitely don't want to miss those.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it's just kind of pretty. Actually, it was a little less hectic of a December than I would have expected.
Okay.
Based on previous Decembers. So,
Sure.
yeah. So
yeah, I remember last year you were all over the place. So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
good.
week, this year, it's a little bit more calm. I don't want to say there's nothing going on, but yeah, it's definitely less on the calendar.
Okay.
So how are things going over at? Wait, before we go to school, I'm looking at the notes here. Wait, what is this about TJ on the notes? You got to explain this to me.
We're definitely 3. We're definitely 3 years old right now. I mean, we know who Santa is. We know he's going to come down the chimney and bring presents.
Right.
And we, that's a thing we know. We spent an entire weekend with family, dinner at my great grandma's house, and decorating the Christmas tree, and doing all these wonderful, exciting things that you would think would be lifelong memories for a young child.
I'm getting there. I'm getting the hint that there's a but coming.
But on Monday morning, when his teacher asked, "What did you do this weekend?" What did TJ say? "I went to Target." He said, "I went to Target." Did we go to Target this weekend? No, we did not go to
You
Target.
didn't even go to Target.
We didn't
I
even
just
go
thought
to
that was the one
Target.
thing you remembered, but you didn't even go.
We didn't
Oh my
even go to
gosh.
Target. And then so I did not understand when he got out of school and he said, "Oh, I told my teacher that I went to Target." Like I didn't understand what he said, like what he was trying to say, because I had definitely prepped him to say, like, we went to great grandma's house to have dinner. We decorated our Christmas tree. Like we did all these wonderful things. I definitely prepared him for the Monday question of what did you do this weekend? And he said we didn't go to Target. So I just needed a moment to like look.
Out of all those fun options that you did do,
Yeah.
you chose something you didn't do.
He just, he said something we didn't do, but he clearly wanted to go to Target. But
I was going to say, when was the last time you went to Target? Because maybe
Yeah.
he's just confused about what the weekend was.
All right. It's been a couple weeks though. It's not like, a few days ago we went. Like it's been a while. So
Okay, all right.
it does happen to be his favorite store. So I know he definitely maybe this was just a whole like toddler plot to get me to take him to Target.
Okay.
Which I did, right. But I just
Yeah,
I
worked.
don't know. It ended up on our show notes because I was just so blindsided by this whole event, this whole conversation, that I was like,
That's really funny though.
is this where we're at right now? Is this what, is this what it's like to be in our, like, firmly in our threes, So,
Yeah.
I have a feeling that, we're going to have a lot of fun stories in the next couple months. So, yeah. But, I know, I don't know. It's 2024 is going to have a lot of that. So, Erik, last time we talked, you were talking a lot about your student teacher. You said he's right on track. How's all that going?
He's doing very well. He's still in there just 1.5 days a week, and just had his first full band rehearsal. He's done full lessons, but he just did his first full band rehearsal.
Nice.
And it was for an observation from his supervisor. So that was cool. It was nice to see it. I just brought out my instrument and sat in with one of the sections and just played, and let him figure it out.
Okay. That's a good step.
It's a good band to do this with, because I think they, not to toot my own horn, but they're well trained. And frankly, I didn't even really train them much because he came in month 1 of the school year. But they've been well trained and they are pretty respectful and will respond well. So it's a good group to be in front of as a student teacher. And so that's good. And, I'm finding that I'm learning little tidbits from his supervisor, who's coming in and working with him. And I always just kind of sit in on their post observation chat. I get little tidbits from those meetings too, but it's a lot of fun. Any good New Year's resolutions? Anything that you just want to do this year or don't want to do this year?
I know, right? That's the tough thing for me. I think I'd like to, I don't want to say lose a few pounds, but I think I'd like to exercise more.
Okay.
I think I'd like to get out and move a little bit more with the little energy I have left. I always feel better when I exercise, so I feel like I'd like to do that. How about you? You set any goals for yourself this year?
I want to play, just for my own sake. When we're gonna throw it to our full episode in just a minute here. But we talked about getting the horn out and playing a little more. And that's something that's a resolution of mine, is just to force myself to get the horn out, even when I'm tired or, I've been playing all day in lessons, and I, maybe taking my instrument out isn't the first thing that's on my mind. I really do want to get that instrument out and play a little bit to keep myself a little sharp. I feel like my brain, when it comes to reading tough music, is just a little bit slower than it used to be. So yeah, that's my resolution, is to play a little more.
That's a really good one. No, I like that. You said something a minute ago about your band being well trained. You got to stand in front of my band recently for District Band Day. how was that?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Your kids were so exciting.
Oh,
They excited me.
yeah.
And yeah, so our band day was a little different this year than last year. And this
Hmm.
year it was just the fifth graders, but I got to meet all of Mrs. Wise's kids. How many do you have? 100
Just about.
between
I
the two
think,
schools?
yeah, between the two schools, I mean, between the two schools, yeah, I have like that was just my fifth graders. I think I
Yeah.
had 70 something or 80 in the room
Okay.
the other day. But yeah, I've got over 200 when we talk about the fourth graders too.
Yeah.
But yeah, but
Oh, but it was a lot of fun. They excited
so
me.
fun.
I felt like I was, I'd had far too much caffeine, and I did not, but it was
No.
really just,
No, it was just enough for my group.
it was just the fun. No, it was really fun
Yeah.
to see them, and they're always, they bring the excitement, and
Yeah.
and it was great to see the other two groups too, Jim's and Brian's, and work on breathing.
Mhm.
Like let's make a whole half hour's worth of exciting breathing work.
Listen, my students needed it. So yeah, Eric did some good breathing gym stuff and other, air exercises
Yeah.
and they ate it up. We used it when I saw them next day for rehearsal. It was really
Oh,
fun.
good.
So yeah, they ate it up. So
Awesome.
yeah, it
Well,
was good.
it was a lot of fun. Thank you for letting me come and have some fun with your kids. It's like being the uncle or the grandpa where you get to play with the kids and then you send them back.
Well,
Yep, now
yeah, I
they're
guess-
yours. Have fun.
yeah, thanks. Thank you for that. So
But they got to see the high school wind symphony played, and I was asking a bunch of the kids in the audience, the fifth graders who were waiting to be bused back to the elementary schools, and I said, with obviously I was your favorite part of the morning, but other than that, what was your favorite part of the day? And inevitably, most of them said the high school band.
Yeah.
They thought they were just amazing, and they really
Yeah,
were. This
really-
is one of the best wind symphonies I've heard there.
they're so good. And yeah, they want that. Like they want to get to that level. And like that's what that day's all about, is looking forward,
Yeah.
So that was a really great day. So thanks for giving
Sure was.
that experience to my kids. So
Thank you.
and I feel like, as such a seasoned teacher that's been in this for, 21 years now.
Ooh.
And as we go through our, decades in teaching, you came to them with a really thorough plan, and you knew what you wanted to get out of them. And I thought that's really cool. And I think that's an awesome thing about our conversation today. We're gonna talk our way through our decades in the profession, our decades of teaching band, teaching orchestra, and talk about how that looks different, from the podium, how that looks different in our personal life,
Mhm.
and kind of what we learned along the way, and why we do things the way we do now. So
Yeah, today's episode was so much fun to record,
Yeah.
and chat with each other about just what teaching looks like at different points in our lives. We got to bring on a teacher in her 9th year teaching, Lindsey Malko here from Morristown, and Jen's in her 2nd decade of teaching, and I'm just starting my 3rd decade in teaching. So yeah, it was a great conversation. Kind of listening to some earlier parts of your lives made me remember like parts about things that I did earlier on, and but it was really, really cool to get different perspectives, and I hope our listeners will also appreciate those perspectives.
Yeah, I hope so too. So here we go. Let's meet Lindsey and dive into today's topic.
So, Lindsey, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We're really excited to kind of get some different perspectives about, different places in our careers. And so Jen and I thought that tonight's episode would be kind of fun to just take a look at the different decades of teaching and how that may look different from person to person. But before we do that,
Welcome,
could we learn a
Lindsey.
little about you?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So I have taught in a few schools, but I've ended up at Alexander Hamilton School. I teach 4th and 5th grade instrumental music, band, and orchestra. So it's been really fun getting to do both. And yeah, instrumental music has been my passion, and teaching elementary I love as well. So yeah, I'm very happy to be doing what I'm doing.
Did you teach elementary before coming to Morristown, or were you at a different level before then?
Yes. Well, originally I student taught at the high school level, and then when I graduated, I got a job doing a private school, K to 8, general music, band, and chorus. So, the whole shebang. Um, and then it was just too much, you spread yourself so thin doing, so many things. And then after having taught general music, I knew I didn't want to do that. So I tried to find a job where it was just strictly instrumental and elementary. So yeah, basically just been teaching in the elementary realm.
Nice. I know
Great.
Jen and Jen, you've got a lot in common there with
Yeah,
those
definitely.
roles.
I'm like, oh, band and orchestra, rocking that right now too. So fourth and fifth grade, I'm doing the same thing. So yeah, it's a good life,
Yeah.
It
A lot
sure
of
is.
a lot of excited beginners, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I kind of miss the excitement of those beginners.
Yeah.
Jen, I may have mentioned to you at some point, but I used to teach beginners too, but not for a long time.
Yeah,
They
you
always
did.
brought their own excitement.
Yeah, they do. They come roaring in with it every day, and it's so fun. So yeah, no, it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And so we're each coming to this with slightly different you know years of experience, right? So Lindsay, you said you've been teaching 9 years now.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm in my 16th year of teaching, and in my third district. And Erik, how many did we punch the card for you now?
My career can legally drink alcohol. It's 21 years, and I'm in my fourth district.
Wow! Cheers to you. So,
drink some water to that.
that's it, right? But yeah, and in each of our positions, getting to interact with different level of students, like um how we approach that at different points in our career is I feel like it's so different. And I think that's why I think this topic is so fun. So because I know when I was in my like first 10 years of teaching, I struggled a little bit with like classroom management and like telling kids no. And I really wanted them to just like be happy and 100% all the time, love what they were doing. And like I remember in my first few years, like, oh, I don't want them to like really hate me. Like maybe I can just let them talk a little bit. Nope, you can't. So I don't know. Do you guys feel the same way that your classroom management has changed through the decades?
Plenty other teachers here younger than me. So, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I had to have somebody say to me like, he's 10. You definitely know better. And I was like, "Oh, yeah." Yeah, like I had that moment like one of my teachers that have observed me was I was like, "Oh, that was a moment for me." Like I kind of clicked. I was like, "You're right. I need to I need to tighten this up right now." Um yeah, that took a little bit. That I always had my classroom procedure spot on. Like I always knew like routine was the thing that was going to like keep us all, afloat. But I feel like classroom management was a little different for me in the first couple of years. So,
Mm.
and it was like not necessarily honoring requests like, oh, can I come in and practice during lunch? And then 2 weeks later, you have 20 kids in your lunch, your only lunch, the only 20 minutes you have for a day. It's like, I definitely don't do that anymore in my, um, after my 15th, 16th year of teaching, I'm not having a lot of kids, a pack of kids in during lunch right now. So, yeah.
What about you, Lindsay? Do you find yourself like being more confident in saying like no or laying down the law, or were you just like that to begin with?
They'll beg all the time to stay longer during lessons or this or that, come during lunch. And I'm like, I only have one lunchtime, kids. Like I don't have all this free time during the day. So, I'm like, come by when you want to, but, not, you can't hang out for all that time. But yeah, when it comes to admin, however, I still feel like since I'm non-tenured also, I kind of can't necessarily say no. But
Yeah, that's a really interesting point too. That dynamic between the kids is very different from the dynamic between the admins. Jen, what's been your experience with that now being tenured at Livingston and having the years under your belt? How's that?
Oh man, I think I just learned a lot of hard lessons the hard way because I was so much braver in my first few years of teaching, like just spitting out what I want and requesting a meeting with the superintendent and like diving into a PTO meeting and like, oh man, I had all that going in my 20s and my first years of teaching. And now I'm like, oh, I'll consider that. Thank you. And then I end up doing it my own way anyway. But I just, oh man, yeah, I made those mistakes definitely the hard way. Probably so much so that I ended up in another district. Who knows? I still don't know, why they cut my, program in my first district, but I now I do listen really, really carefully, like, because I know the language that my administrators are using when they need me to do something and when they want me to do something and when they know I'm going to say no anyway but they have to ask, and I just like I feel like I'm a little bit more to in tune to what they're really asking. So
Interesting.
yeah. I can't say I say no any better, but I at least I'm more in tune to what's actually going on. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I rarely say no because we have a very good I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of relationship right now with especially my building administrator who, helps us out with budget things. And if we want to start a new course or, figure out something to change or whatever, like very open to supporting the music department. So, one hand does help the other, and if they need us to do an extra performance for a thing, we'll usually probably do it because again it's that give and take. I guess we're pretty lucky in that our administrators are happy to help us out with things. So
no, I agree.
I don't find myself saying no a lot. One, because there's not usually all that much that they're asking us to do, but two, it's helpful to give and take.
Yeah, I agree. And that's exactly kind of what I was trying to get at. Yeah, it's definitely a give and take, Yeah, I feel like a big part of my conversations with my administrators has been like asking for things. I don't know. Either of you have anything to say about how you changed how you ask for things and as you go through your career?
I don't know. I feel like my principal has he's very supportive of the program, so I feel more confident going to him saying, "Hey, do we have any more money in the budget to replace this cello that is broken?" Or, things like that. And then they're like, "Oh, the kids like, I'm not having enough instruments for kids that do, want to play." Or like the instruments are in such bad shape that, they're like, "Oh, we do really want to help support the program." So when he comes forth with saying things like that, definitely makes me feel more confident that I can go and say, "Hey, we need this, this, and this," instead of just like waiting until, the budget comes around and seeing what I can, fit in where for what we need. But I think because of his attitude has made it appealing for me to go and ask him, I guess.
Do you feel like also because now you've got, 9 years in, you feel like, okay, I know what I'm talking about and therefore I can go in with this position of being more of the expert on it?
Yes, yes. It also helps that his kid also plays in his music program at their district. So I'm like, he definitely understands now what it takes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the experience too, knowing like the instruments to ask for, what to look for, and even rentals too and things like that. So yeah, definitely the experience helps with it for sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Do you agree, Jen?
I do. I definitely do. I'm thinking about a time when I had much less experience and I just, I would like linger around my administrator's office, like to find the right time to ask for the thing. And then it's like, oh, not today. Oh, today's not the day. Oh, and, uh, one year I went to Midwest and I met Timothy Lowest, fantastic beginner band composer. We really hit it off. We had great ideas about a piece for my band. I wanted to do a commission. He drew up a contract. We had ideas going. He was like kind of sort of writing the piece already. And I could not find the right time to like sit down with my administrator and be like, I have this
Oh.
thing, So then it's like happening. And then like I walk in one day and he's like dressing down some seventh grader in the office. I'm like, oh, today's not the day. And then I walk in one day and there's like a computer failure and he's hollering at the secretaries. I'm like, okay, today's not the day. And all of a sudden a couple months go by and we're ready to do like really move forward on this project. And I have this contract dated like 2 months ahead of time, and it was not a good scene that I was looking to commit to this this project, and it just like didn't go well. I had no good way to like ask for things in my 20s. I don't know if it was just me or just the situation I was in, because I definitely feel like in the position I'm in now, whether it's my experience that I'm coming to it with or just where I am and the administrators I'm surrounded with now, I definitely didn't feel like a professional then. And I feel like a professional now. So the professional me knows like, okay, I want to send just a polite email. Hey, I want to check in with you about this project. Let me know when it's good for you. But me then I was like, oh, maybe I can catch his ear. Oh, maybe this is a good time. Oh, maybe and I just like, yeah, it just didn't happen. And then, it ended up not being, oh, it was a fantastic project. The piece turned out great. In the end, it was really, really wonderful. Um, but how I went about it really was not in the most like professional way.
Now,
So
do you feel, Jen, also, and I don't take this the wrong way, but
oh, go ahead.
do you feel now that you're older,
Mhm.
you may be closer in age to some of your administrators, or perhaps even older than and I don't know if you are older than any of your administrators.
I think,
But
I think I
closer in
might
age,
be.
do you find that also puts you on a similar level?
Maybe, yeah, kind of, sort of. I
Okay.
see that. I see that happening a little bit. My principal said to me the other day, he's a former band director, and he's like, "Oh man, you've been at this longer than I have. What's going to work here?" And I was like,
Nice.
"Oh, okay, that's a new one."
Yeah,
Like
no, that's
that's a
a
box
really
to
good
check.
place to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like we've always had a really good rapport, but that was like a new, I don't want to say milestone, but like something I was like, oh, okay, that's what I haven't gotten yet. Um, so yeah, I am starting to get to that point in my late 30s and everything that, I've been in the classroom longer than some of my administrators.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a new one. And we were talking about things like my teaching space and the plan for district string day that's happening at the end of the week. And he's like, just yeah, what do you need? But like, let me know. I'm like, okay. That's
Yeah.
kind of new for me. So yeah.
Let's talk about confidence in the classroom. I feel like finally, maybe in the last 5 years or 6 years, I've really felt like kind of almost an ease of being in front of my students. And I don't know if I ever felt like I was really super nervous or uncomfortable, but just like I got this kind of a feeling. How can you guys speak to your confidence in the classroom at the points where you're at now?
I feel like finally doing something that I really love makes me feel confident. Like I feel like I'm good at teaching elementary level kids. And I was worried that orchestra would have been, since I played clarinet as my main instrument. So I thought like, oh great, like the kids are going to know more than me. But like with beginners, like they really, like all kids really, they don't know as much as we think they do,
Mhm.
in the classroom. So, um, when it came time to it, like it was fine. And, I just love that age group. So I feel like doing something that I love I feel good when I'm doing it. And so then the confidence comes from there. But like in a general music classroom, it would have been totally different. I think because it wasn't my specialty. So you feel insecure with doing that. But yeah, I mean, I'm always super nervous for observations because it feels like everything always goes wrong whenever the principal is actually in there watching or whoever the observer may be. But yeah, I would say confidence has definitely gotten better. But yeah, doing what you love makes it easier.
I really did feel pretty confident in front of, especially small group lessons. I felt like that's, always where I've just really hit my stride. I still feel like I'm a developing, conductor, developing on the podium, pacing rehearsals, things like that. I always feel like that I have room for growth, but I always felt pretty confident in small group lessons that I could get something out of everybody in the room. And but I think this far into my career, I'm starting to look at my master's, which I'm about to complete, which we'll circle back to soon, I'm sure. Um, but and starting to think like, oh, maybe I should have done something that challenged me more as a conductor, like challenged me more on the podium, challenged me more in front of a larger group. But I mean, I'm happy with what I chose to do, which was wind and percussion pedagogy, because it's so like useful, right? But like I said, I do feel like I have room to grow there. I don't know. I do still feel like after a lot of rehearsals, I sit back and I'm like, oh, I wish I had like taken this left turn, or I wish I had prepared them differently for that moment, or like I do find myself being more critical of myself on the podium than in lesson groups and everything. So
Yeah.
how about you, Eric? Where are you at with that?
I mean, I wrote here in our notes, I attend more conferences and workshops now than I've ever done in my career. I felt like I don't know. I'll ask this. I have a question to ask, but I'll wait. I'll hold off on it. But
Okay.
I feel like I don't want to get stale. And I also don't want to just like chase fads, in music
Mm.
ed.
Yeah.
There's definitely things that come and go. And but I kind of just, I want to know how to do the job better.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Lindsey, do you feel, somebody, and you're no longer a new teacher, but when do you feel like your feet finally hit the ground? Cause I know somebody, there's always that phrase, your feet never hit the ground the first year, but I feel for me, it was like the first 4 years they never hit the ground. Do you feel like you're finally like,
Yeah, I
when
would
did
say
that happen?
so. I think since coming to Morristown,
Okay.
I think I was finally like, okay, like this is it. I mean, I've always since college, like it was so easy because it was right there at Rutgers, for that part of the time. But I always went to conferences, so I always wanted to try to go to sessions and things that I felt like I was, less good at. And conducting, that was definitely not my strong point, but I'm like, I teach elementary, like, I'm lucky they even look up from their music. Um, I think Morristown was it where I was finally like, okay.
What about you, Jen? When did your feet finally hit the ground, or have they?
So I thought it was year 3. It was not. It was year 7.
Oh wow, you have a very
So
distinctive, like,
I was
exactly
like,
when it happened.
I thought it was when I had 120 kids in my like one of my ensembles. Like I thought I had recruited my pants off, and I thought, I had all these kids and this and that. But then in my 7th year, I was like, oh, now we have like this next level. And I brought a band to NJMEA, and like I did a clinic there, and I did, and I started to get really started moving towards completing that master's project and everything. I was like, okay, now I feel like things are really clicking. Like I thought they were working before, but now it's like there's like another level of things. So yeah, it was probably around year 7.
Yeah.
I really feel like for band stuff, I'm coming to Livingston. Now this is my 6th year in Livingston, 5th year, 6th year in Livingston. It threw me through a loop, like having to learn to teach orchestra coming here. Like I was definitely like, okay, I got this band thing down, and then all of a sudden I don't have all the tools in my toolbox with the orchestra thing. And I had my classroom management down, like we said before. I had my I know how to run an ensemble. I know how to pick repertoire. I know all these things, but like the toolbox for like in lessons and in rehearsals, getting the sound I want, getting them to produce what we need that was a challenge the last couple of years, is figuring out the orchestra thing. And switching from teaching for 10 years on a 42, 43, 45-minute format to all of a sudden only 30, that was a big deal for me also. I still run into, oh man, I love this lesson, but I need 10 more minutes.
Yeah. Well, Livingston has those really short 30-minute lessons. How long are your lessons, Lindsey?
40.
Okay, 40. So you have that extra time. Yeah, when you factor in the unpacking and packing, half an hour is so fast.
It goes fast. Yeah. Like today I had a saxophone lesson. It was 9 minutes into their lesson, but by the time they got down to me and assembled their instruments, and yeah, it goes really fast. So Erik, tell us about your feet. Are they walking on water yet, or? Sorry, I'll
walking
do
on water. Wow. Well,
sorry,
I do think very highly of myself.
I can dial it back. I'll dial it back.
No, we got to keep that one in. That's good.
Okay.
No, I can't walk on water, but my feet have finally touched the ground.
Good.
You mentioned Jen, and I think I ran into a very similar situation. I feel like I finally, my first job was 3 years, and I did feel like my feet kind of hit the ground maybe year 3. Started a new job, after that. So my feet would never touch the ground that year. Then there was Wyckoff, and so I feel like my feet it took a couple of years to hit the ground there. So my feet kept touching the ground and then coming off the ground, and then touching the ground and coming off the ground. But the funny thing is, when I started at Livingston, I feel like right away things were very comfortable. And I don't mean in a bad way. I just mean, they just kind of worked. And so I guess, yeah, similar to Lindsey, you just find the right place, and you find that you feel like you're there. But I also, Jen, did not have to learn to teach a brand new set of instruments that I'd never taught before. So there's that. Lindsey, you did do strings before Morristown or not?
When I first started teaching, I had one student on violin. Okay. But that was just like a courtesy, because, it was private school. So kind of, it was like, anything goes almost. But yeah, the orchestra stuff was all super new for me. Of course we learned in college, but, actively doing it was different. But yeah, that was, very similar to what you had said about your experience with it, Jen, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine being like, okay, I'm year 12 or year 13 or even just year 7 and being like, let's do this brand new thing.
Yeah. I hate to say it, like even 16 years in, I'm like, if somebody asked me to teach general music, like below maybe 6th grade, I would be very concerned. I could probably do 6th grade and up, but the fact that I'm just so poor at all the rhythm instruments and guitar and piano, I just don't see how it could work for me. I don't know. Yeah. but that's a story for another day.
As I'm thinking about our conversation about how our professional lives are different and perhaps have changed over time, I'm also kind of wondering how our personal lives fit into that as well. I think back to 20 years ago what I was doing in my personal life, and it's very different from now. And I'm sure as we all think back, we kind of have those here's how we've changed. So I'm curious, how have things changed since you began teaching? Like what's different? How do lives look different now?
I'll tell you what, Erik, I did a lot more marching band a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And my initial response to your question is kids change everything. Oh my gosh. But really, my concept of how valuable my time is changed a lot, especially once I hit like I don't know, year 10 or so in my career. Like, I don't know. I did a lot more marching band before, teaching color guards for multiple bands, running up and down the state, like doing, all that. Um, and I had no more energy than I do now because I have a toddler. Like, I definitely have a lot of energy now. It's not about that. It's not about being, young and having energy. It's about, really kind of, I feel like, knowing almost what your time is worth to do that. So I feel like once I finally settled into one or two bands, I could really focus on them and get those kids really good at what they do. And that was cool. And now that my son is here and not doing that, I I do miss marching band. I miss it a little. Like, I didn't.
Like, where is she going with this one?
I'm like, it's hard to say. It's hard to spit out. But like, I do miss marching band a little bit. Not being in it for the last 3, 4 maybe seasons. COVID was squishy. That whole thing. So, I kind of miss that. I miss, getting out there. I miss feeling like I'm creating something, like, with design wise. Like, I do miss that. Somebody told me really early on in my career, like, when I started teaching my first groups, like when I was like 19 or 20, somebody told me, like, oh, you're going to grow out of teaching marching band one day. Like, you're going to grow out of this. And like, there I was at 30 and I was like, no, definitely not growing out of this. I've been doing this like 20 years now, like, not growing out of marching band. No, I did grow out of indoor, however, because that is a labor of love. That is like, if you don't love teaching indoor, it's not for you. you know but And I did the indoor thing for a while, but teaching full time and doing the indoor thing, it was too much. But yeah, I mean, yeah, having TJ changes everything. I count the nights out in a week, and this kind of sort of counts as one recording with you all, because I missed bedtime. Like, I know it seems like a silly thing, but like last week, Erik and I recorded, and then I worked 2 nights at my side job, and all of a sudden I missed bedtime 3 nights out of 7, and it
Sure.
was like, I miss mommy. I miss mommy by the end of the week. And it was like, oh, okay, I'm the worst. So, I know I'm not the worst, but like, it doesn't feel great. Like, I want to be home. Like, I want to be home for that
Yeah.
stuff. So, that's where I'm at. Anybody else feeling the same way about marching band or kids in the picture? Or
Well, no kids over here, but cats kind of count for sure.
they'll let you know when you're not around.
For
I thought
sure.
cats appreciated you not being around. They're like, thank goodness they're gone. Maybe that's just my cat.
Mine love the attention. Mine's laying in my lap right now, but yeah, I have to say, I mean, when I first started teaching, it was part-time, so I needed to supplement like working part-time. So I've just always had part-time jobs, and like I had marching band and I was working retail, and like it was like there were no free days of the week. It was just work, 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 work.
Hmm.
So as I've gotten older, I've tried to prioritize like just having more time to not have to work and not to feel like I had to work so many jobs. And when I switched districts, there was no space to have another tech, and I was actually really happy about that because I was happy to have like the fall back. I could do the fall things and not have to worry about teaching marching band all the time. It's been kind of nice, actually. I liked marching band and I love supporting marching band and I loved doing it, but I don't necessarily miss teaching it. But yeah, time is just super important, and I feel like it just slips away from us so quickly that I wanted to make sure that I had just more time. And like I play with a trio, and I'll occasionally play with the Kane University Wind Ensemble. They're always looking for clarinets over there. So yeah, finding time to do more of things that suit me, I feel, is what I try to do now as I've gotten older too. So
Do you feel like now that you're kind of in the district where your feet are on the ground and you feel, grounded, and this is where you are. Do you feel like it's less important to take on a project or a side job or an extra thing because of like the resume building qualities of it?
Yes, yeah, I don't have to necessarily, think about that, but I still want like the district to know that I think, what I'm doing there is important and I want to give the kids opportunities. I'll do stuff outside of school, like the, fifth grade honor band and all that stuff. And I'm planning on doing that again this year when we get the info for it and stuff. So I know that's like school related, but it takes time and out of
Yeah.
your personal time that you do for the students too. So
I know when I was in the first, I don't know, 5-6 years, probably even more than that, maybe 10, 12 years. Sometimes I would say yes to projects that I didn't necessarily even really, really want to do, just because I was like, oh, well, if I ever decide to do this will look really good on the resume.
yeah.
So, but I feel like now at this point, I've kind of stopped doing those things. And I was just curious if you had experienced the same.
I think now I feel like it's more about networking. Like who will I play with if I say yes to playing this musical? Because I love playing in pits. I love doubling. And so if I do play with someone with a new group, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get my foot in the door there and see if they have any, gigs I need, like, flute, clarinet, saxophone in. I know that's all of our realm, right? We're all the woodman people. So
Oh, I know. Yeah.
We're all fighting each other for those gigs.
Listen, I was like, oh, cool. I have a new sub. This is fun.
Yeah, definitely.
But, no, I totally get that. Like, I was in New Jersey Wind Symphony for a while and almost ended up on the board. But that was one of those things that like I looked at the big picture and I was like, I gotta say no to this one. I'm a band chair for NJSMA. I'm running that sixth grade festival you're talking about. I was like, I can't say yes to another board position. And like, what is that going to do for my resume right now? I'm not sure. Like, I'm like cool connections, I'm really, interested in philanthropy and, like giving towards organizations like that, except I don't have any money to give myself. So it's like, okay, I want to volunteer. I want to do those things, but I just didn't have the time or the focus or the, for that organization. So it's like, yeah, you look at the big picture and the connections you're making and your resume, and it's like, I think I'm okay saying no on this one.
Yeah.
So, Erik, how about you? You said you're getting better at, or you've gotten better at saying no. Where's that taken you?
Oh my goodness. It's taken me to new places and new heights. There's a show that I listen to, and they refer to the time of life in your 40s as the messy middle, where, there's kids and there's bills and there's, maybe, aging parents. And now we don't have a multi-generational family household here, but I know that sometimes people in their 40s start to, experience that, where they're what do they call that? The sandwich generation, where you're taking care of your kids and your parents at the same time. And now I'm not there. But that messy middle is kind of, I feel like I'm in the thick of that, right? Playing dad's taxi way more than, I even did 5 years ago, driving Maggie and Kate to their events and their things. And, like that's important now. So I don't do as many things as I used to. When Maggie was born, I was the assistant director for 2 marching bands. And some days it would involve going from one rehearsal, then driving across northern New Jersey to another rehearsal, and then doing it all again the next day while teaching full time. So it, that was what filled up the time. It's funny, we're all talking about how we've either cut out completely or cut back on marching band. I didn't know that was going to be a subtopic in this conversation tonight. But seriously, replacing that time with new priorities is something that I'm also, I don't want to say I'm learning to do. I'm learning what, how there's only so many hours in the day, and I've never been good at saying no to things because I really enjoy doing a lot of things. But what has to go and what has to stay. And dad's taxi is, it's really important to me because I get to, spend that time, watching Kate do her swim lessons, or, listening to Maggie's rehearsal with her orchestras, or, or doing church choir, stuff. So like all these things are really important. So it's kind of just like a little shift for me, a bit away from some of the career-based time stuff, teaching time, and flipping that over a little bit more toward, non-teaching things and responsibilities. And I'm still learning that. I feel like that's just begun with an 11-year-old, almost 11-year-old at home. Like that's just starting. So that'll be fun to continue to try to balance those things and still, feel like I'm getting fulfilled music wise and teaching wise and making a difference there too.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question for you. Like, you're still feeling fulfilled, like musically? I know you have, you said you've been practicing and
yeah, I started taking my instrument to school a few times. Getting that new horn was definitely a nice, incentive to start practicing a little more. But I was sitting in the practice room at Montclair State just this Saturday. Maggie has her rehearsal there, and it's 3 hours long, so it's the only time you can get an open practice room. So I just set up in a practice room, and I was playing some pieces that I played 20 plus years ago, and I'm like, wow, my brain is definitely slower than it was when I was working on these in college. So now, like, I've made it my goal to like play enough that I can, keep my brain moving and all that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm trying to play just to practice. I think John Diagidio, one of our colleagues who is now a supervisor of music and arts in Randolph, he said a quote like, when you're a kid, you perform because you rehearsed. But when you're an adult, when you're a professional, you rehearse because you have a performance. And so like, I'm trying to get back to the not just playing my instrument when there's a performance, but, doing that. And that feels really fulfilling to me. Do you guys get a chance to practice much just for the sake of practicing?
I can't say that I do. I mean, I do play all day long with the kids on whatever instrument it is. So by the time I'm home, I'm like, okay, I'm done playing music sometimes. But I've been really getting the urge to want to just like revisit like pieces that I had played in college to like see how much better. Or I'm actually like, if there's a hard, like in the wind ensemble, if there's a hard piece or a hard section, I really like just like breaking it apart and having that time to like sit down and do that. Whereas before I would have been like, oh, I have to work on this. Like, I don't know. It's just something about really breaking it down and having that time on my hands to do that is exciting.
Oh, that's good. I'm not quite there right now.
That's okay.
I'm not practicing. I'll be honest. I'm not practicing much, and I'm not. I got a lot of TJ stuff on my brain, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, so. No, I get it. I'm lucky if I get in an hour a week combined, like total. Like we're not talking hours and hours.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's tough. Definitely a new part of life, isn't it? Well, this was fun.
Yeah, this is
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we have 3 decades represented here: decade 1, 2, and oh my god, decade 3.
Thanks
for the haha, Jen.
Sorry.
But Lindsey, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a fun time too.
It was so great to meet you.
If any of our listeners want to get in touch, how can they find you?
Yeah, style_and music is my Instagram. But my personal email, they can always reach out to me, lindsey.malko@gmail.com. Be happy to, chat if anyone's interested.
Nice.
Okay.
And Jen, how can people get in touch with you?
My email is jenwisemusic@gmail.com, 1 N in Jen. And how about you, Erik?
Erik at Donough.net. That's ERIK at DONOUGH.net. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for the name. Pretty simple to find. But yeah, this has been fun. This has been fun.
Yeah.
So hopefully we've got, many, many, many more years in front of us to perfect our craft and to continue to learn and grow as educators. But this is nice to sort of stop and take a little stock here of where we are at this moment. So thank you.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed hearing from both of you, Erik. I'm looking forward to some of the things that you said, and Lindsey, I'm like, okay, I'm so glad that you learned a lot of those lessons that I learned the hard way, like right off the bat. So
Yeah.
you go. So if you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're getting your podcasts. We're out there. Leave us a rating and 5-star review. Tell your friends about us. We love to hear when you pass on our podcast and share it with someone that is out there teaching music.
And if you didn't know and you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, if you want to see us, we also release these in video form on YouTube, which is pretty crazy. Amazing technology these days.
I know. You get to see and hear us.
Yeah.
So, find us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Consider becoming a monthly supporter. Our link is in the show notes. We'd love to have your support, and it would go right back into the podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jen, Lindsey, thanks so much for being here tonight. This was a lot of fun. And to all our listeners, get out there and make some great music. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Lindsey.
Thanks, guys.